Hello, and welcome to the second episode of Web Enumeration using Burp. This is the second part. If you haven't seen the first, please do so now. A second type is known as an intruder. And what the intruder does is use brute force. Now, I believe many individuals know the concept of brute force. There's something like, yep, we're going to brute force passwords. We aren't. So, if we go onto something like payload, we'll see what happens. Okay, here comes the SQL injection. SQL injection comes in a variety of flavors. How are we going to put all of this to the test? We can't do it by hand. So what we're going to do is go into the intruder here, and you'll notice that depending on the database we're using, we have blind SQL injection, fuzzDB, and other options. Here's something similar. We also have stuff like discovery and predictable file paths. So, using intruder, we can quickly see whether any of them exist. So, how do we go about it? We return to the target, a proxy, or even a repeater. You may do this directly from a repeater request and transmit it to the intruder. We'll come in here and use the proxy. Let's go with the one that has login attempts. Oh, now we have a username and a password. So we'll forward that to the intruder. And one of the useful things we can accomplish is a blind SQL injection. So, if we leave SQL injection open on the SQL map, it takes time. So let's find out and run our test to determine whether it's SQL injectable. So you'll notice that the tiny Smolian signs, the paragraph separators, have determined what they want us to fuzz and tweak. But we'll simply clear them because we want to check these here. We want to verify the name, password, context, whatever it is, and password. So we may come here and add a Smolian. And we may put a Smolian here. And we may put a Smolian here. Smolian should be applied on all surfaces. So what we're saying here is that within this is what we want to replace with whatever our text files are. So, let us do a blind SQL injection. So that's what we've done. So we believe the SQL injectable ones will be the display name, username, password context, and password itself. So let's talk about payloads. This is where we put all of our payloads. So we can go here and payload everything. Also, attempt a time-based SQL injection. Now, generic time-based SQL injection is quite beneficial since it can tell us whether or not something is SQL injectable based just on the time difference. So, when we perform a time-based SQL injection, we tell the database to wait. That is all we are doing. We're not attempting to access the database. Instead, we're simply stating, hey, wait, if it's SQL injectable, that page will wait for us. So we'll copy and paste this list here. So we've had some sleep, and while we've been sleeping, we've been doing some arithmetic. Cool. So we do it. All we have to do now is tap the Start Attack button. Then it launches the intruder attack. As you can see, we don't have a list of the times. And we can look and see. However, there is a response received and a response finished. All you need to do is enable them. So what we're searching for is whether something takes far too long, as if we're looking for anomalies. So, if we go up to response received, we might be able to say that all those took some time. Could that indicate that they're SQL injectable? Could that mean that they're not? Could it simply be that the web server is taking longer? But what we're searching for here are endpoints that appear suspicious. We're not searching for bugs, but for something that may be a bug. So we're looking at them, and that one is the display name. That one might also be the display name. So what we're saying is that if the display name is SQL injectable, we can load that into SQL map and test it that way. That is one of the application cases for detecting SQL injections with Intruder. It's also quite beneficial when utilizing something like fuzzDB, where the discovery file may be used. There's a lot of material here all about finding things or files that no one intended us to find. We have several web servers and languages. They all have these types of possible files. So that's usually a nice one to start with. Does this file exist just because you're looking at it? Does that file exist? Can we uncover relevant API endpoints by looking at what the current state is? However, if we have anything like merchandise and advertisements, we may find that utilizing Intruder. So the major function of an intruder is to perform something like this: deliver a payload, and watch what comes out. Do you get a different duration or a different response? You're looking for unusual things here. Then there's the use case of discovering stuff we weren't expected to uncover, like API endpoints or files. And any of these can result in a bug. Another intriguing feature is the decoder, which simply enables you to URL encode stuff. For example, if you're sending anything like this to a web page, you can encode it as a URL and avoid bothering with it. You can also decode information. If you hover your mouse over something, it will attempt to decode it. So you don't have to be concerned. Next, I'd want to discuss extenders. Now, the extender just allows you to install and accept Burp extensions. So, these are the extensions, and I have JSON beautifier enabled. So JSON appears to be rather appealing. There's also a Burp store, and there are a lot of them. Some of them require the premium version, but others, like SQL map integration, might be incredibly handy without it. However, you may send replies from Burp straight to SQL map and tell it what the parameters are and ensure that the cookies are correctly supplied, among other things. So it may be extremely handy for combining everything into one area. Other incredibly valuable ones on discovering idols may be found here. And I believe that covers everything. I guarantee you that all you need to uncover your first bug is an intruder repeater and a proxy target. That's all there is to it. You don't have to pay, and you don't have to find spectacular problems on your first try. Just look at the type of low-hanging fruit. It's not going to be simple to come by, but it will be less difficult. And especially if you become accustomed to the intruder's might and ability to figure out what appears strange. A request appears a little strange, but that is what you want to grow your feeling of liking. That reaction appears to be a little weird. Findings those can be of real help and use. So thank you for watching. In the next video, we will look more at some interesting stuff on hacking. As always, this is S Shadow. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell icon.